are joining with audiences from across the globe to enjoy Harrogate International Festival's series of online events, streamed straight from our home to yours. Sit back, relax, and enjoy an interview with Graeme Park. We promise you've got the best seats in the house.
So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Harrogate International Festivals podcast. So obviously difficult times at the moment. That's why we're all talking through Zoom everywhere across the country at the moment, talking into laptops. So today on the podcast, we are going to talk to the legend that is Graeme Park before his set that he's going to put together for the live stream for the festival, which would have been in the Spiegel tent this year. Unfortunately, that's not happening, of course. So hopefully that will be on as soon as we can put that together again. So let's say hello to Graeme Park.
Hello, Dean. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in and thanks for joining us. And I hope everyone's staying safe and are well.
Keeping well, Graeme? Plenty of cycling I've seen.
Yes, cycling is what keeps me sane. I've always been a keen cyclist. I've always been a mountain biker since a teenager. Well, not because mountain bikes weren't really a thing until I was about 22. But this morning, 5:30, there I was flying through a forest that was only 10 kilometres from the house. So I went out at 5:30. I'm going through a forest. Love it.
Nice. No punctures?
Not today.
That's one of my... I've just got into cycling a little bit and I'm terrified I'm going to get a puncture 20 kilometres.
Well, can I tell you, I've just realised I thought you were making a joke there because in the past, because I'm on Strava, there's a cycling app called Strava.
Yeah.
And I've had 4 punctures in the past 6 weeks.
I've seen that, yeah. That's why I mentioned it.
All right, okay. Well,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
But do you know, people who, a lot of my friends are road cyclists, right? With those skinny little tyres. And they're the ones who go flying past me when I'm on a public road, right? But what they don't realise is when you're on the trail, when you're off-road, late spring is the time of year when you get more punctures than any other time of the year. Because over the winter, when less people are out, the trails get loads of debris from autumn onwards. And then when people start, I mean, I cycle in all weathers, but in the spring, you can start going on trails that you can't go on in the winter because they're too muddy. They all dry out, but they're covered in debris, like twigs, branches, thorns, pine cones, and it only takes a little thorn and you've got a puncture. So, yes, I've had, of course, on my social media talks about punctures, isn't it? But no punctures today. But I actually bought a new bike last week because talk about being impatient. My rear suspension on my classic GT mountain bike broke quite badly. So I had to take it to get repaired. And because my local cycle shop are so busy, like every cycle shop in the country are so busy, so well, normally they would do it in 24 hours. Well, it's going to be a week. I'm like, a week? So then I said, maybe it's time to get a new bike then. They said, well, actually, you'll be lucky to get a new bike, but this one's just come in and it was in the budget I was thinking of. So I bought a new bike. So
nice. Yeah, so doing the podcast for Harrogate Festivals, International Festivals. Yeah. The podcast is going to be available via Apple or Google Podcasts if anyone wants to download that. There's all sorts of interesting stuff on there. Mm-hmm. The Crime Festival that's massive in Harrogate, they're currently on with that, doing that. So obviously you were part of the festivals again this year. It's going to be the Spiegel tent, which is a fantastic venue.
I know.
So that's disappointing.
Hopefully next summer we can do it.
There's going to be lots to fit in next summer by the look of it because everyone's rescheduling, aren't they? Because I think this year is going to be a complete write-off. Yeah.
I know. It's a bit of a worry, actually. It's all right in the short term, but if it goes on to the rest of the year, then the financial implications become a bit more serious then, don't they?
Yeah, I think people are starting to realise that, yeah.
Mm.
So you've been keeping busy because I've seen you on lots of things, lots of streams, lots of chats.
Yeah, lots. Well, if it wasn't for the lockdown, I'd be very busy anyway.
Yeah.
But all of those rescheduled or postponed gigs, because very few have been cancelled, most have been rescheduled or postponed, have kind of turned into live streams instead,
Yeah.
which is good. And obviously, I've got the Harrogate International Festival one, which will be fantastic. But it's not the same. It's good to be able to do this and entertain people, and a lot of money's been raised for charity, which is good. Especially with United We Stream, we've done 2 Hacienda house parties, and they've raised a lot of money. And I've, for those streams, I was able to leave the house and go go to the TV studio that was set up, that's been set up. So that's quite a novelty for the first one in April, to get in the car and drive on an empty motorway, well, 3 empty motorways to get there. And I was out of the house for about 3 hours. That was quite exciting. And then to do it again in May. But it's not the same. DJing on your own is not the same as playing to a crowd. Because although for 30 odd years, my method hasn't changed. I basically have a rough idea in my head of what I'd like to play and what I'm definitely going to play. But a lot of the time, it's the crowd that will, influence you on the night. If the atmosphere of the crowd and the vibe you get off the people will determine which kind of way you might steer your set. But when you're, live streaming to no one, it's a bit like doing my radio show. You plan more what you're going to do, but you don't get a response. Okay, you can get like a response on social media, but it's not the same.
Do you see those comments as you DJing, as in like the live stream? Because there's hundreds and hundreds of comments.
It depends on the live stream. So when I did the 2 United We Stream Hacienda house parties, no, I didn't look, because I was, as you saw, I was on a stage in a club environment. And so therefore I kept it more authentic and just played. I had an audience of 3 camera operators and 2 tech guys, all with face masks on, keeping a distance, right? But when I do my weekly Friday lunchtime lunch clubbing Nordoff Robin stream on my Facebook Live page, then yes, I do. I see the comments and sometimes reply to them and stuff. Thankfully, they're all very positive, which is good. So that's a bit like, you see all these positive comments, and that kind of spurs you on. But you see, when you broadcast on Facebook Live, you've got to be careful for copyright breaches. Yeah. So I make sure I play a lot of brand new stuff on Facebook Live, which minimises the chances of getting interrupted. Yeah. At the weekend, last Saturday, the 22nd of May, I did a live stream with Fever in Dublin, because I was supposed to do a club night in Dublin around this time. So we did that online, and that was on every platform you can think of. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Fever's website, Mixcloud Live, etc., etc. So I could only really look at the comments that were on Facebook, and they were all positive.
Well, like I say, the comments for the Hacienda one are just crazy, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments. That would have probably worked if you'd have seen them as you were doing it.
Yeah, I've got to confess, I did have a look afterwards, which is quite good. So it's approaching DJ in a different way. There is one thing I don't miss though about when I'm doing a live stream. There's one thing that one difference that I like, and that is that. And I've said this to you before, anyone who's seen us chatting before, it's the, not usually a woman, but sometimes a man, usually over 40, who somehow managed to clamber up to the DJ booth, a little bit worse for wear, and demand, not ask if there's any chance of playing, but demand that I play a proper classic party. Get some proper classic tunes on. I gotta be honest, I don't miss that. But having said that, I would much rather be in a club with a sea of bodies, all smiling faces and hands in the air, than in my little home studio any day of the week.
So how do you think this is going to pan out in the future? Do you think there's a market for this kind of streaming thing in the future? Do you think it'll just die away once things go back to normal? Because there's hundreds of streams at the moment.
Thousands. I mean, to be honest, I mean, it's great. Just think 10 years ago, 5 years ago, this wouldn't have been possible without paying a lot of money to do it. I mean, now, there's so many platforms that offer it. So it's great that you can do it now. And there are some amazing streams because I've dipped in. I was watching Louis Vega the other day, and I was watching a little bit of Roger Sanchez the other day. But
I watched Carl Cox on Sunday. Carl Cox had his 3 decks doing vinyl on Sunday. It was amazing.
Exactly. But for every great stream that there is, there's probably about 500, really average, not very good streams. But that's fine. People are just doing their thing. Will it last? I don't know, because when we get back to normal or some form of normality, everyone's going to want to go out. You're not going to ring all your mates and go, "Oh, Parky's live streaming this Saturday." They'll go, "Yeah, well, great, but I'm off to see, David Morales and Louis Vega." But then, will you be able to see David Morales and Louis Vega? Because when we get back to normal, I don't think it will be normal in the short term, because social distancing, I think, will remain for a long time. Well, if you say clubs can open, but you can only run at 30% capacity, then promoters and clubs will be making less money. So therefore, that's bound to affect how much they've got to spend on talent and on DJs, etc. Now, that could be very tough. I know in 2008, when we had the financial crash, lots of promoters were trying to pull that as an excuse to pay DJs less. I very firmly said, no, this is my fee. You either pay it or you don't. And I'm glad I did that, because I never had to have the conversation a few years later, like, well, can we go back up to where I was? So, but this time it's different, because if a promoter has only, say, 30% capacity, a club has a 30% capacity, then how can you afford to fly people over from America or over from Europe or have massive lineups? So who knows? If it means the end of the all-day event with 50 DJs in 3 rooms all getting an hour each, I think that's a good thing, personally.
I agree with that, actually,
Yes, I have done some of those events, because, you get, well, it's a great event, I want to do it. But it's rubbish just DJing for an hour. It really is. And again, that's something else that a lot of live streams, you just do an hour or maybe 2. But I don't know, but I really hope. I mean, or even Hacienda Classical, how's that going to work? With 100 people on stage, you can't social distance with the orchestra, because the brass, woodwind, the strings, the choir, they all have to be together.
Well, you made it work on the stream.
That we were really worried it wouldn't work, but it did work.
How on earth did you pull that off? How did that work?
Oh, it was a challenge, but because me, Chris, the percussionist, and Yvonne Shelton were live in the studio with everything else coming in. But anyway, it worked. But everyone's going back to what we said. Everyone's saying, "Oh, maybe write this year off. Maybe by the end of the year we can start getting back to normal." But I think until we have a vaccine and testing, track, trace, test, or whatever, it's going to be a while till we get back to normal. So, does that mean, a lot of it could be good for the up and coming, unknown local DJ, because they don't cost as much as people like me. But who knows? Am I going to have to find a job? Well, I mean, I'm lucky. I do have a university. I'm a senior lecturer in creative media technology, but that's never going to pay all the bills. So
Have you been doing any of that online, the lecturing? Is that on hold at the moment? Oh, it's still going, yeah.
All of it. In fact, I've had to just stop doing my marking to do this.
Right.
Gladly stop doing my marking. It's tedious, but it's part of the job. No, we moved to online lecturing very, very swiftly, and online tutorials, and the majority of students have embraced it, but some are having real difficulty with it. But I'm glad I've got this, because I had a quiet start to 2020. In fact, I actually said no to some gigs in February and March, purely because March through till the end of the year was so busy for me. Gigs, 3-4 gigs on lots of weekends between now and the end of the year. So for the sake of my sanity and health, because last few years have been so busy, I politely declined quite a few gigs in February. Yeah. And now I wish I hadn't, because
I'm sure.
But hindsight's a great thing. So it's been a bit of a shock, but it's in my nature to stay positive, and I'm going to remain positive as long as I can, because at the end of the day, there are a lot of people in a lot worse situation than me and my family. We've all got our health, which is good, and as long as that continues and I can remain being productive and creative, then hopefully everything else will look after itself.
It's also probably brought, I think I read somewhere there's 1.5 million people over the course of 12 hours or 14 hours tuned into the Hacienda stream.
There was.
That's just incredible numbers, and that's bringing your name back to probably people who have not.
What do you mean bringing it back? Bringing it back? Where's it been?
For thousands of other people maybe who don't so much go out so much anymore, and I mean the Hacienda stream just brought that all back to a lot of people.
No, you're right. You're right. We had a lot of people saying, "Oh, I've this has given me the inspiration, or to go back out clubbing again." And of course, then they realise that they don't know when that'll be. But when you bring the classicals back, though, there's going to be some big numbers of people who are absolutely gutted that we had to reschedule July's Castlefield Bowl show in Manchester to next year. There's other dates this year that we haven't announced yet, but obviously we're not going to announce them until we know if they can happen or not. So
you're not announced Leeds yet, which I'm not very happy about.
Well, I know, but it's really tough. Nobody knows. But you know what really, really gets on my nerves, and I know what gets on a lot of people's nerves, is our government are just a shambles. They're sending out mixed messages about what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. And then, you look at Nicola Sturgeon's daily news briefing, and it's full of on-point, constructive and useful information. There's no question about what's happening in Scotland. Equally, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, again, they've had no coronavirus cases for 5 days, and her news conferences are full of useful and precise information. And then look at our daily Number 10 Downing Street briefing. It's a shambles. You have to listen to 20 minutes of political spin and then the experts. And anyway, so
I don't know if we can get into politics on here.
Well, okay, but it is annoying. So we don't know. It'd be nice to get some clarity as to what's going to happen.
Yeah, so some sort of roadmap so we know where we're heading.
I know. So who knows? But the thing is, regarding my gigs, my rescheduled gigs, postponed gigs, and Hacienda Classical, just keep checking my website. This is graemepark.com, because I regularly update that. But you see, there are some gigs. According to my gig guide, there are some gigs in June and July that are still going ahead because the promoters don't have the information to make an informed decision as to whether to go ahead, postpone, or cancel.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Nobody knows where they're at. And no clockwork in Ibiza this year. That's a big one for me.
I know. I was looking. Well, I think there's a live stream going to be happening.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, this Clockstock weekend. That's on.
That's right.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah. So Harrogate then. So what's your? Obviously, you've played in Harrogate many years ago, but for the festivals, what's your memories of Harrogate Festival? Obviously, last year we did the Royal Hall, which is an iconic building.
Yeah, that's a building I've never been in. I mean, like, going over the past 25, 30 years, I've played in Harrogate, not loads, but quite a few times, especially in the 90s. I used to do, was it the Fez? Was the Fez?
The Mix. The Mix. Oh, there was the Fez, yeah, Punana.
Yeah. That's it, Punana. I remember doing that, and other venues that I can't remember the name of. But the Royal Hall, obviously, a landmark, historic building. I've never been inside it, and then last summer to actually go in there, I thought, wow, this is fantastic. I really enjoyed that gig. Yeah.
I've got a picture actually. I meant to send you a picture of the Beatles on stage. We talked about the Beatles played there in 1963, I think it was. I'll forward you that picture of them on the same stage that you played on. It's great.
That's the year picture. That's the year I was born.
Oh, you're giving it away now.
Yeah. But I'd say one of my fondest memories of Harrogate is there's a really old school hotel. You know, when you come down the hill, the traffic lights, that junction at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
And there's a hotel as you go down the hill, there's a hotel on the left.
Right? Maybe the Majestic.
I can't remember the name of it. It's a proper old school hotel, right?
Yeah.
And I did a gig in Harrogate once, and well, probably went to bed about 5 a.m. or something. And at 5:30 in the morning, it was a summer, because I remember the windows open and the breeze coming in. 5:30 in the morning, I was woken up by a firefighter in the room, screaming at me to get out of bed because the fire alarm was going off. But I was sleeping through it. And he just basically threw back the covers. Like, come on, I'm just like, because I'm in my underpants, going, well, what's going on? What's going on? And he goes, come on, and just grabbed me, threw me out of the room, and there's a fire exit next to the room, and pushed me out on that, and the fire exit door closed. And I was like, what's going on? And then I realised I was at the top of the fire exit in my underpants, without my glasses. It's a fire exit, you can't get back in, can you? So then I'm like, well, I'll just wait here. But then another firefighter appeared and said, you can't stay there. There's a fire. Get down, come down. Jesus. And made me walk around the back of the hotel and the car park at the back.
Still in your pants?
Yeah, still in my pants with no glasses on. The car park was full of people, like the staff, and loads of old people, because old people get up really early in the morning and they were having their breakfast. And then this guy who works in the kitchen was leaning against the wall having a fag, and a tea towel on his shoulder. Said, "Yeah, mate," and just took the tea towel and threw it to me, this dirty tea towel. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that? and then I just stand in the car park for ages, about an hour, and then they finally let everyone back in. And I just ran through reception up to the room to get back in the room, and then realised that I didn't have a key, did I? I was locked out of the room. So then I had to kind of gingerly, with my tea towel, go all the way back down to reception in my underpants. Can I get the key to my room, please? And then I went back to the room. So by this time, it's about, I don't know, it's probably about 8 o'clock by this time. So went back to bed. 10 o'clock, phone rings. Mr. Park, you checking out today? I'm like, it's only 10 o'clock. Yeah, we have a 10 o'clock checkout here.
Oh,
there you go. A great memory of Harrogate. I've never stayed there since, actually. If I do stay in Harrogate now, I stay with my mate, my old friend Charlie, who's got a lovely little flat in Harrogate.
Nice. So we kind of mentioned this earlier, but so when you come to Harrogate, do you think, what am I going to play tonight? What kind of set am I going to play? Do you have a rough one in mind? Or like you said earlier, you just think, I'm going to go with it and see what happens?
It depends, because having such a vast record collection and often going to my lockup and digging things out, I might find a record I'd forgotten about, or some tunes that haven't been played for 20 odd years. So you might think, I'll play them, but they might make you think of other things. But also there's always Lots of great new things coming out, and lots of re-edits and remixes of things that are familiar. But again, you don't know until you see the crowd, because sometimes you turn up to a club expecting an older crowd. And this is with Hacienda Club Nights. This started happening about 6 or 7 years ago. The audience for Hacienda Club Night started getting younger and younger and younger. And so, for example, the last 2 Hacienda Club Nights we've done at the Warehouse Project, I'd say 85% of the audience weren't even born when the Hacienda got knocked down, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, for the young audience, you're going to have to tailor your set more to a young audience. Now, as someone who's been DJing all their life, I think that's great.
It's probably quite refreshing for you, isn't it?
It is. I love it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you turn up to a club expecting a young audience, and then everyone's over 40. So obviously, you're going to have to, I better tailor my set that way. Sometimes, and the best audiences, personally, are when you turn up and it's a 50-50 split. Half the audience are 20, 30, and the other half are in their 40s. So then you get to mix up new and old,
Yeah.
So you don't know. So if memory serves me right, last summer in Harrogate, it was a slightly older crowd. So
yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
But you just vibe off the crowd. You just going back to what I was saying earlier. You vibe off the crowd. You get inspiration from them. And in recent years, having stopped drinking, that has had a massive effect on what I do as well, because you can stay more focused and concentrate more on the craft and the skill of what you're doing and your choice of music, and you don't lose conversation. Because when I used to get completely hammered, right, it's so easy to lose concentration or lose your thread. And somebody will come up and ask you for a record, and you go, "Oh yeah, great idea." Then you go, "Hang on, what am I doing? Oh, I've forgotten what I was going to play next."
Yeah.
And also, you're more inclined to be polite but firm with people. Whereas when you've had a few drinks, you can get annoyed quite quickly. And if you get annoyed quite quickly, it can throw your concentration and put you off. But if you're totally focused and no alcohol is involved, you can firmly and politely tell people you don't say, you're not rude. You can just say, "Sorry, listen, come on, I think it's best if you just go and leave me alone. Excuse me, can someone come and take this person? Oh, I'm sorry, I'll talk to you later." And then get back to where you are and stay concentrated. It's like the Spiegel tent, people can get, I like being close to audiences, but when they start clambering up and slobbering all over you and asking you to play, a classic is like, so I'll be like mixing my second record in to start the night, play a tune, and I'm just mixing the second record in, and somebody will come clambering up and go, "Parky, are you going to put Voodoo Ray on?" And I'm like, it's my second record. I've been on the deck for 6 minutes. I've got a 3-hour set. "Oh, come on. What about Brand New Heavies? You're going to play that?" Yes, just be patient.
Let me do my thing.
What is it about alcohol that makes people so impatient? But I'm not complaining, because I'd soon complain if nobody came to a gig. It is quite funny, but being sober makes it much easier to deal with that situation than having had a few drinks, because then you kind of go, "Oh God, what are you doing? Leave me alone." Now I can go, "Yeah, don't worry about it. You just go and enjoy the music, and I'm sure Voodoo Ray may appear. It might not though, but it may appear."
And you can drive home afterwards.
Yeah, that's something I probably have to do a lot more of now, because my rule for the past decade or so has been anything less than 2 hours from home, I drive there and I drive back. Anything more than 2 hours from home, I get the train, stay over, get the train back. But from what I've read, public transport is going to be a lot different, and trains aren't going to be run to capacity. So therefore, the price of train tickets is going to go up. So that means going back to doing long hours behind the wheel of a car, really. which means roads will be more busy. So, but again, nobody knows. Everyone's speculating or guessing. I just think we need some firm information. Interesting to see what happens when the shops open in a couple of weeks. Although if things carry on like this, I won't have any disposable income to spend. No. There are some great sales on. I just bought some trousers and I've just bought loads of new cycling gear. I have to be careful not to get too carried away with the sales, I think.
Yeah, I'm the same. So I was listening to your show on Friday, and I think on Friday, the one I listened to, you played music from across maybe 50 years. So there was some tracks from the 70s, there was 80s, 90s. Oh, yeah. It's crazy. Like, if you'd have thought all them years ago that you'd be involved in the Harrogate International Festival, which is an arts festival.
Well, no, I didn't. But we see, when I started off on my music career, it was playing in bands, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to play in bands. I sang lead vocal in a band, played saxophone, and I became a DJ by accident. But if you'd said to me in 1984, when I started DJing at the garage in Nottingham, you'll be doing this for the rest of your life.
Possibly playing some of the same records or edits of them, or
no,
you could probably pull a record out from those days now, and it'll work just.
Well, yeah, I do actually love digging out. Say I go to my lockup and unearth a rich seam of tunes from a specific period, because my records aren't in any order. I try and bring some home and order them, get them in some kind of order. But if I find a box, it tends to be a box of a specific year or period of a year, like summer 95 or summer 86. And there are tunes in there that are so obscure, because if I've forgotten about them, that's how obscure they are. And I'll recognize them from the cover or the label. And I'd play them and go, oh my God, I remember this. People are going to freak out when they hear it. Now, if you're over 45, you will probably have danced to this record when I played it at the Hacienda, right?
Yeah.
But if you're under 40, then you won't know that this record is 25 years old, right? So, and I see this a lot in Ibiza. If I play something really obscure from 1991 or 1987 or whatever, and you get always lads, never women. I don't know why the women don't do it. It's always lads. Get the phone out and get Shazam, right? And then they're up to the speaker like this. Oh, it's not working. It's just I can't get a signal. Oh no, I've got a signal. Anyway, it won't come up on Shazam. Right?
Yeah.
Well, so what do you do then? Well, you love this tune, so you come up to me and go, "What's that tune you played, the one before last?" And I go, "Oh, it's such and such, such and such." What is it? What is it? Can you put it in? Can you write it down? Give me your phone. I'll type it in your notes. Yeah. They go away. Anyway, they're back 15, 20 minutes later. Is that right, what you put? Because I can't find it on Tracksource or Beatport. I can't find it. Is it not out yet? I'm like, oh. It came out before you were born. And then the next thing is they go, oh, if I give you my email address, will you send it to me? I'm like, all right, off you go. Do one now. You can go. I'm not, everyone nowadays, music's so accessible, which I think is great. Anyone can get anything they want. And that's good, but it also means that a lot of DJs end up playing the same songs, right? Especially when you go down the main strip in any town and not every bar's got a DJ on. Pretty much playing similar stuff, all the kind of big tunes and everything. So it's nice, I think, to dig out these old tunes that people have forgotten about and just give people something a bit different. Because, with a radio show, I think it's so you don't sit down and listen as much. It's something that's on in the background while you do something. And I just love digging out stuff from the 70s or the 80s, like a bit of disco, bit of soul, bit of funk, and just mix it up. And the response and feedback I get, not only from the people who listen, but from the radio stations who take it, is that's what they love about the show. It's an eclectic selection. And to be honest, I don't know what I'm going to play until I put the show together. And I go, I definitely want to put these new songs in because they're amazing. But of all these old tracks, they're all so good. I can't put them all in, so I have to, curate in a way that I think is going to sound good on the radio. But going back to your original point, I had no idea that I would make a career out of doing this and be doing arts festivals. It's fantastic. But I suppose, people have grown up with me, listening to me, and from my early days at the garage in Nottingham and the Hacienda, those two clubs had such an effect on people. And it's sometimes when I'm DJing overseas, and there's someone else I don't know if I'll be doing for a while, like I'll be obviously walking down the street in Sydney or Melbourne, you often get stopped by some expat who goes, "Oh, Parky, Hacienda." But every now and then it's somebody from Nottingham who saw me at the garage, and that's just fantastic. So, and I think a lot of parents have turned their kids onto house music. Hey, check out this tape from Parky from 1991, right? And of course, if you're driving your kids and they're in the car, it's a captive audience. They've got no choice, have they? And that's probably warmed in. So you get a lot of students now who contact me for their dissertation about acid house or the Hacienda, or Madchester. And when you get talking to them, it turns out that their parents used to go to Hacienda, or their parents used to play my old tapes. So So as long as people still want to put up with me doing my thing, I think enjoy.
I think you downplay the stuff from the last few months. I think with the streams and especially the Hacienda one, it was just the numbers tuning into that and the money that was raised. It's just there's always been a retro sort of scene for a certain amount of older people, but now it just seems to have exploded again. And I think suppose people might be in for a shock when everything goes back to the clubs. I think the numbers are going to
maybe, but I think live streaming will continue. But of course, the question is, it's fine at the moment for us all to give our time to raise money for health charities and for nighttime economy charities. But that's not sustainable, because
that's true. Yeah.
If we get back to normal and get back to clubs, great. I can start earning again. Because as much as I love what I do, and it's my living, isn't it? But would people be prepared to pay money for a virtual ticket for a live stream? And then because for example, United We Stream, all the tech guys, like we have camera operators, we have like the vision mixers, the tech guys, they're given their time as well. It's not sustainable long term.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. But we need some clarity from our government.
You keep trying to sneak the politics in. I'm going to...
Sorry.
So to finish, Graeme, I don't know if you remember, I always ask you a daft question.
Yes.
I don't know if you recall this. So
okay,
today's daft question to finish up is...
Come on, I'm looking forward to this.
It's from my friend Lucy. So she said, would you rather have fingers as long as your legs, or legs as long as your fingers? I picked that from a short list of 5 questions.
That's ridiculous. Fingers as long as my legs, or legs as long as my fingers. Well, the problem with that is if I had fingers as long as my legs, it'd be very difficult to DJ, right?
Yeah.
And if I had legs as long as my fingers, I wouldn't be able to reach the decks to DJ. So how can I choose between those two? You said that's one of 5. Have you got the other 5 there? Or can you remember any of the other 5?
No, I have. I've got them here. I'll give you another
Lucy, that's the most ridiculous. I think that's the most ridiculous question I've ever been asked in my life.
I know.
I can't even answer it.
I know the answer to this one, I think. But would you rather be able to speak every language fluently, or play every instrument perfectly?
Well, first of all, you don't know how many instruments I can play, right?
No.
I can play quite a few, not perfectly though. I mean, I'm a woodwind player, saxophone and clarinet, so that means I can pretty much play any of the woodwind instruments. And I've done flute before, I've done bassoon before, I've done oboe before, I've played guitar in bands. I've played bass in bands. I once played drums in a band, which was brilliant, but not brilliantly. And keyboards I can do.
Have you played any of these on the classical?
No, tambourine and keyboard. I do keyboards on the classical. I do a bit of keyboard, but we've got the thing about Hacienda Classical is I'm performing with 70 professional, amazing classical musicians. So the keyboards I do are pretty basic. They're just a bit of a riff here and there.
Yeah.
Tambourine, bash the hell out of that. And we've got a great percussionist, so I don't bash too much the hell out of it because I've got a great percussionist next to me. Languages, well, I can speak, despite being Scottish, I can speak English quite well, I think. pretty well, in fact. I know enough Spanish to get by, but only if someone responds in slow Spanish. French, I never realised how much French I know until I go to Paris. And it all just comes back from school. I had to learn Italian, a little bit of Italian, because me and my wife went to a wedding in Italy when she was 7 months pregnant with twins. And I figured that I would better learn Italian for my wife is pregnant with twins and other bits, but by no means perfectly. So what would I prefer? I think I would go down the language because I can play so many instruments. And the thing about, because I used to play in the school orchestra and I had lots of these lessons when I was at school. If you know one instrument fairly well, and you are a musician, you can pretty much get something out of most instruments. In fact, just out of sight, I've got a didgeridoo, and I can even play that. Do you want me to get it?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Hang on, I'm coming.
Here we go, world exclusive.
Yeah, because
preview of the next Hacienda Classical.
Here it is. Here's my didgeridoo, right? Now, I do collect things, although if my wife was here, she would say, no, you don't. You just hoard things. So I got this in Australia. I've not done this for a while, so bear with me. And I don't know if you can hear it because I've got my earphones.
I can hear it,
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
But what you're supposed to do is circular breathe so you can keep the note going. So there you go. I'll go languages on that.
That's a great way to end it. Thank you very much for that. A world exclusive.
Thanks for having me. All right. Cheers, Dean.
Cheers. Thank you, Graeme.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. If you have enjoyed this event as part of the Harrogate International Festivals, please do think about a donation to ensure that our festivals can survive in the future. Donations can be made by texting HIF and the amount to 70085. For more events, please visit our online hub, the HIF Player. It's packed with upcoming live streams, events you've missed, archive recordings, and much more.